I'm Pat O'Keefe. Among our stories in this episode of News 12 Overtime, women's basketball. How has the game evolved over the last half century? We'll take a look at the sport through the eyes of one Bronx high school.
I'm Dan Serafin. What athletes wear on the field of play has become what fans wear every day. We'll take a look at the culture of the sports jersey. How has it changed what our favorite players wear when we watch them? And why are sports fans so passionate about it? Also, several local Olympians brought medals back home with them from Rio, 2 of them visiting us here in studio.
That's right, Bronxite Daryl Homer, a silver medalist in fencing with LIU Brooklyn alum Brendan Rodney, also grabbing a bronze on the track. Both will show off those medals and tell us what's next. I'm Kurt Semder, and we're also introducing you to the superstars of the Bronx Wrestling Federation, an independent pro wrestling company that, as I found out firsthand, is much more than just clotheslines and body slams. News 12 Overtime starts right now.
At the northern tip of the Bronx lies an all-girls high school that has produced high-level basketball talent for more than 50 years. And while in recent decades, schools such as Christ the King and Murray Bergstrom have dominated New York City girls basketball, they don't possess the years of history that exist inside the gymnasium walls at St. Barnabas. Only those who have played there can understand the Barnabas basketball legacy. It is a team that I had heard about my entire childhood.
You knew you could play. You knew you could play well. I don't think I was ever afraid going into a game, to be honest with you. I wasn't either. I mean, you just got out and you just played.
Between 1960 and 1963, long before women's basketball showed up on your television, the team at St. Barnabas won 3 CYO championships, a dynasty in the Bronx. At the same time, another Bronx dynasty was in full bloom.
And you were a little bit king of the hill, weren't we? Because, you know, basketball is very important to our school because they all came to the games. Everybody knew who you were.
And the reason I have heard so much about this team is that my aunt, Maureen O'Keefe, was its leading scorer. Recently, I asked my aunt, along with her teammate and longtime friend Patsy Arkinson, to share their memories of titles won more than 50 years ago.
There was never a seat.
Never a seat for all of our games.
Yes.
But we really won
well, that's
all
true.
the time,
Yeah,
you know.
yeah, true.
Won all the time, a fact confirmed by looking through the game scores in the yearbook and the championship plaques that still reside in the cafeteria. Plaques that future generations of students and players have seen, like Marianne Riley, who is now the athletic director at Manhattan College. She remembers getting hooked on St. Barnabas when she visited the school as an 8th grader.
And went upstairs to the gym, and I thought I died and went to heaven because at visitation we didn't have a gym. We used to have to go to the public school to play.
So off she went to Barnabas, a daily hour-and-a-half commute from Riverdale to Woodlawn on 2 buses.
We'd get off in droves from the bus. You'd take the number 4 if you wanted to get directly to school. You'd take the number 16 if you wanted to interface with the Mount St. Michael boys.
After a standout high school career, Riley stayed in the Bronx, becoming a member of Manhattan College's first female Division I team.
Back then, Title IX really wasn't in full swing. And when I realized that that was an opportunity, that was a goal of mine.
She became a trailblazer at Manhattan, the first woman to score 1,000 points and the first woman inducted into the school's Athletics Hall of Fame. And the game never left her. After coaching for several years, Riley settled into a successful career in athletic administration at Fordham University before coming back to Manhattan in 2016 as the school's first female AD.
Marianne, you're a Jasper.
While Riley was a sophomore at St. Barnabas, a senior had a similar passion for basketball.
Oh, it was my whole life. My parents knew I was coming home because they could hear the basketball coming down the street.
Julie Kane also had an eye on making it a career. In 1979, she became the varsity coach, a position she held for the next 12 years. And continuing the Barnabas basketball legacy, her teams kept winning.
One year I didn't make the playoffs, and my husband looked at me like in the beginning of February and was like, "What are you doing home?" And I said, "We didn't make the playoffs." He's like, "This is when basketball season really ends."
But more important than winning, basketball at St. Barnabas gave countless girls the chance to attend college. Like Nadia Peters, who wasn't even thinking about college hoops when she arrived at Barnabas in 2003. She was a piano player who only took up basketball in the 7th grade.
People kept telling me I was so tall.
She would grow to be 6'1", which helped her become first-team All-Bronx as a senior and earn a scholarship to Manhattan College.
I loved playing basketball at St. Barnabas.
Even though it presented some unique challenges.
The gym is located right above the chapel, so there's a lot of, we couldn't keep too much noise, or we had to wait if there's a mass.
Peters played 4 years at Manhattan and remains the last Barnabas grad to receive a Division I basketball scholarship. Fast forward to this past February. Maggie Murray, a senior, on the verge of a scoring milestone. And even though Barnabas basketball games were no longer the standing room only affairs from previous decades, everyone turned out for her big moment. The first St. Barnabas player in 32 years to score her 1,000th point. Alumni from different eras came back to share in her moment.
We really just wanted to celebrate, that women's basketball is still alive and well.
And when the crowd began chanting Maggie's name,
that was an unreal experience. Yeah, it felt like a dream. Like, I can't even think of any other way to explain it.
One of hundreds of experiences enjoyed by this group of women in this gym over the past 5 decades and counting. And Marianne Riley, the athletics director at Manhattan College, so nice of you to join us in studio.
Thank you for having me.
How much has basketball, the sport, meant to your life and your career?
Basketball has been the core at everything I've done, from high school through college and after college.
When you look back, what are the biggest differences in women's basketball between when you played and now?
I think the opportunity and the awareness. Student athletes are so aware of things that they are entitled to, when I was playing, we were just thrilled to have the opportunity to play.
Tell me about the bond that is shared among alumna of St. Barnabas High School, especially in the basketball program. I saw your reaction when you met Maggie Murray for the first time in Draddy Gymnasium. That was really special.
Well, I think sports brings people together in general, and so it's a sisterhood or brotherhood. And when you do see each other, there's that commonality that you've played the sport that you love. And to see Maggie, I had heard so much about her, but I had never met her before, and to think that she was on Manhattan's campus after coming to St. Barnabas, wasn't playing, but just to meet her was a great experience for me as well.
Marianne, thank you.
Thank you.
Coming up on News 12 Overtime, the sports uniform has become something we see fans wear to cheer on their favorite teams, but how has it changed the sports culture? We'll examine that next. Also, in our last episode, we previewed some of our local athletes who are going for gold at the Rio Olympics. Later in the show, we'll catch up with 2 who came home with some hardware. It's something you see at every sporting event now, from T-ball and youth soccer to the NBA, Major League Baseball, and even the Olympics. The uniforms. News 12's Dan Serafin dives into the culture surrounding this phenomenon.
Pat, somewhere in the last 20 or 30 years, the fashion, if you will, of sports jumped from on the field to off. You see it in your neighborhood, at your school, most definitely when you're at the game, where nothing gets you closer to the players than wearing the same jersey they do and becoming a part of the Universe. The outfit of choice to go with your cheers.
If I came in a suit and tie like I normally am at work, I might be a little more reserved.
The jersey makes a statement even when you don't.
That's my favorite jersey in my collection. I have like 100 jerseys. I just like them, Christmas, birthday is what I want. Jersey, why not? Like players more than teams, so figure I collect all my favorite players' jerseys.
People are very receptive to it. They love it. They say it reminds them of the old days.
All the rage in the 90s and early 2000s, sports jerseys as fashion, it's still a thing.
You're rooting for those colors and that logo and that uniform.
Brooklyn native Paul Lucas is a columnist for ESPN.com.
You've internalized a deep affection and connection.
He covers the ever-changing world of the sports uniform.
Actually, while wearing this, I've had people say, "Oh, you from Kutztown?"
People say, "Really? You do this for a living? There's enough to talk about?" Like, yeah, there's plenty.
No one has examined the uniform world as closely before Lucas. Who else knows facts like these?
The Yankees actually have 3 different interlocking NYs. The one on the jersey does not match the one on the cap, and then there's another one that appears on their batting helmet. I went out to create a beat, and basically this is a beat now.
These days it's constantly changing. There's always that new thing, a new color, a different look, a nod to the past. Designers used to ask what looks best on the field.
That question is now usually about the fourth question that gets asked. The first question is, will this sell?
At stores like Frank's Sports Shop in the Bronx or Sports Fever in Brooklyn, fans choose what jersey they want to add to their closet.
Dr. J transcends all teams, so people are going to love him no matter what. It's Julius Erving. Who doesn't love Dr. J?
Like anything else, things become hot, then they become less hot.
The product on the field does help sell the jersey off it. Commonly, the highest selling jerseys are those of winners. In the NBA, Steph Curry. The NFL, Tom Brady. In Brooklyn, the Nets' vice president of global merchandising is Tyrell Kirkham. He's involved in just about every aspect of the Nets look.
For the actual functionality and usefulness of the jersey, we always want to weigh in with the players. But from our fan base, I am an active reader on the blogs. I get the instant feedback here on game nights where fans may have some suggestions.
It's game night at Barclays Center, and fans are showing their allegiance by dressing the part.
Dennis Potvin has been the ultimate Islander for years, and that's why I love the jersey so much.
Nothing makes you feel a little more free with your emotions than when you're wearing a jersey.
Dan, we know you're an avid collector, hence your interest in doing this story. Why do you do it?
It's definitely not to wear them. Maybe once or twice a year I'll wear a jersey other than going to a game. The closet is filled with them, and it's mainly just because I find ones that I'm just like, nobody would have that one, like a rare like Antoine Randall, or people you don't even know, players that may have been long forgotten. But if somebody comes up to me and says, that I've never seen before, and I don't know why you'd want to have that, that's a win for me.
All right, when we come back, a recap of how our local athletes fared at the Summer Olympics in Rio. Welcome back to News 12 Overtime. This summer in Rio, numerous athletes from the boroughs represented numerous different countries competing in numerous different sports. A fencer from the Bronx won a medal for the USA. A sprinter from Brooklyn took home hardware for Canada. Dan and I have more on them, but Kurt, they weren't the only winners.
No, they were not, Pat. In fact, the first local athlete to medal at the Games was Leah Neal, the Brooklynite, winning a silver medal as part of U.S. Swimming's 4x100-meter freestyle relay. And then there's Carmelo Anthony, the Knicks forward, born in the Red Hook section of Brooklyn, made history as the first U.S. men's basketball player to win 3 Olympic golds. And Park Slope Brooklyn fencer Race Imboden took home bronze as part of the U.S. foil team, America's first medal in that event in 84 years.
And Americans making all sorts of fencing history at these games, but none more so than Daryl Homer, a 26-year-old from the Williamsbridge section of the Bronx. The moment it became official was surreal.
I just was smiling, and I never smile.
Homer first learned about fencing when he was 5 and read about it in a children's dictionary.
I ran to my mom and told her I wanted to do it. She looked in the yellow pages, found the Peter Westbrook Foundation.
It was the best call his mom ever made, as Homer sat in our studio wearing his silver medal in individual saber, the first won by an American since 1904.
I'm very lucky and blessed, and I thank my mom every day for what she was able to get out of my sister and I, and the road she was able to pay for us.
Homer's also starting to realize the impact that his success has on others, evidenced by an encounter with a worker at the fish shop located downstairs in his building.
I showed him the medal, and the dude just started crying, and that was one of those experiences where it's like, whoa. To me, this is just like an athletic accomplishment, but to other people, it means so much more.
So what's next when you're in your mid-20s, a pioneer, and have an Olympic medal?
My mind's already jumping back to, okay, competition mode. There's definitely a feeling of, this is great, this is one of my big goals, but there's also a feeling of, let's get more.
Now, Homer isn't the only athlete to bring hardware back to our News 12 studio. Dan is back, and you have more on a track star you've been following for a while.
Yeah, that's right, Pat. LIU Brooklyn alum Brendan Rodney captured a bronze medal as part of Canada's 4x100-meter relay team. He's already turned the page to his professional track career, but that next page has the same setting, Brooklyn. For the last 4 years, the old gym at LIU Brooklyn has been home base for Brendan Rodney, and it's treated him well. Northeast Conference Championships, national top 3 finishes. Rodney put himself and his school on the map. Then this summer, he competed in Rio for his native Canada, winning an Olympic bronze medal.
You kind of see it as, oh wow, I'm at the Olympics, so now like you're kind of a little bit more pressure, a little bit more nerves.
Now, Rodney begins a pro track career, training in the same place, with the same team, and the same coach.
We train in Brooklyn, still kind of, have this everyday lifestyle that I used to have, and, not trying to change too much.
The goals that we actually had last year, that we continue to move forward and try to, establish new goals, bigger goals.
Simon Hodnett recruited Rodney. He'll now tell you he owes everything to Hodnett. That's why, after graduation, he's still training at LIU.
You have somebody who's been around me, who knows me, who knows basically what the expectations are for the program.
Under Hodnett's tutelage, Rodney is working towards the start of his professional career, the 2017 track season, where Hodnett says he'll debut in January.
And Rodney and Homer both have plans to compete for their respective countries at the 2020 Games in Tokyo. But now for something off the Olympic trail.
That's right, Pat. And coming up next, we enter a world unlike any other, professional wrestling. I step into the squared circle with the superstars of the Bronx Wrestling Federation when News 12 Overtime returns.
Professional wrestling is a worldwide multi-billion-dollar industry, but it's also a dangerous form of entertainment that requires years of training to perform correctly.
Yeah, it really does, Pat. And in addition to the big companies, smaller federations have popped up across the country, including one in the Bronx that appeals to both adults and kids alike. I got a chance to spend some time with the superstars of the Bronx Wrestling Federation as they welcomed me inside the squared circle.
Suplexes, hip tosses, frog splashes. This is the Bronx Wrestling Federation, known for its hard-hitting and high-flying action, and the fans can't get enough.
I just love the wrestling when they get thrown out the ring and stuff.
What about you?
I like the action and the high-flying part of it, and it's very like motivational.
And affordable. At just $15 for adults, $10 for kids, fans can check out a cast of characters no different than any movie or play. You've got your kings, queens, guys from the future, villains, and heroes. And in the BWF, there's no greater hero than the man who started it all. Bronco Internacional, real name Frank Segundo, a 53-year-old veteran of the squared circle. He moved to the Bronx from the Dominican Republic back in 2000, and after competing for 35 years, he missed wrestling in Santo Domingo. So 6 years ago, he started the BWF. His popularity almost as huge as his character, as tables of merchandise line the entrance to the show. But to Bronco, the BWF is not about the money.
Debajo de esta máscara, a mí se me han brotado las lágrimas cuando yo he visto niños de 3 y 4 años cómo se ponen cuando me ven a mí. Claman Bronco, Bronco, Bronco.
The first Saturday of every month they call El Dia de Show, and Daro's Extreme Fitness in the Soundview section of the Bronx transforms from a gym to a wrestling arena. And over 100 fans pack the room, including the Sanjuro family from Hunts Point. Who's your favorite wrestler?
Rocco.
What do you like the most about him?
He wins.
It's always great action, the tag team action, the lucha libre action, different styles, different people from all around the world to come here in the BWF. And also it represents the Bronx very well.
That includes outside the ring. BWF superstars are very involved in the community, from visiting kids in the hospital to taking part in the Dominican Day Parade. But before you get here, you have to start here, the BWF school, where current and aspiring wrestlers over the age of 18 train every weekday. This includes BWF heavyweight champion Eric Jaden. The 42-year-old Queens native has been wrestling professionally for 8 years. Does it hurt?
Yes. If people think that ring is bouncy and springy and all that, no, it hurts. It doesn't stop hurting. We have to train in what to do because one wrong move, one run something, you can end up in the hospital, so training is key.
I tried to keep that in mind as I stepped between the ropes. I think I'll leave it to the pros, like Jarrell Arroyo, aka the King of New York. The 35-year-old from Co-op City has spent 16 of those years in the ring, working towards his dream of joining World Wrestling Entertainment, the top company in the business.
I've sacrificed time with my 10-year-old son to do this, who comes with me to a lot of shows. He gets to meet a lot of legends and things of that nature, so he's happy. But at the same time, I'm not daddy all the time. It's an addiction in a way, the roar of the crowd, being able to entertain people as much as humanly possible.
It's a life that 21-year-old Bronxite Felix Roman hopes to have someday. A multi-sport athlete at Mott Haven Village Prep, he never thought he would find a chance to pursue his dream so close to home.
I thought I had to move out of state. I thought I had to go somewhere else. I didn't think it was going to be one around. Once I found this place, I was like, oh, thank God, I can stay where I'm at. I don't have to move.
Roman may train for more than a year before getting to have a match in front of the crowd, but he's committed, as are the almost 40 students who now train at the school.
You have a lot of kids out here who don't have places to go to, and he's giving them chances to come in, train, learn the art of professional wrestling, because it's an art.
Yo no sabía que iban a venir tantos jóvenes a hacer lo que era el deporte de la lucha libre, a hacer entrenamiento de lucha libre. Para mí me lleno de orgullo.
For News 12 Overtime, I'm Kurt Sumner.
All right, so tell us, Kurt, how much does it hurt?
I was sore for a couple of days after that, that's for sure. But I got to really thank the guys over at the BWF for a kid who grew up watching wrestling and loved it, getting to live a lifelong dream of stepping into the ring and fighting with these guys. It was a good time.
How much concern is there by the competitors for the risk of injury?
There always is, of course. There's a risk with these sort of things, and these sort of athletes were looking at each other, basically needing to look to one another to help each other out and make sure that they stay safe in the ring and not have any kind of serious injury.
And then there's this. In Coney Island, a rotating group of about 20 calls itself Fighting Spirit Wrestling. They meet 3 times a week, and some were even wrestlers in high school and college who just wanted to stick with it. Others, lifetime fans, seeing if they can hack it. The commitment is huge, and for those who travel to put on shows, it becomes a lifestyle.
It's not just a hobby. So there are people that, besides being here, you're going to want to be in the gym for hours a day to get the look that's necessary to be successful.
When they see what happens, and they see what happens to my body and how I walk the next day, they know it's not fake. It's the furthest thing from fake. It is entertainment, but fake is not the word I would use for it, ever.
For extended coverage, interviews, and clips from all of our stories and segments, make sure to like our Facebook page. Just search for News 12 Overtime. And also, please follow us on Twitter at News 12 Overtime. For Dan Serafin and Kurt Sumner and everyone here at News 12, I'm Pat O'Keefe. We sincerely thank you for watching News 12 Overtime. We hope you have a wonderful holiday season and a Happy New Year.